Right. Well, good morning, and we'll get this this show on the road, this press conference starting now. Very good morning to you. My name is Arif Zaman. I'm Executive Director of the Commonwealth Businesswomen's Network, and immediately you may wonder what's going on here. Why is a man involved in a business women's network? Well, I've got two young girls, and I worry about their future in terms of the world that they're growing up into. And I know that, quite frankly, if men don't get with the program, it's not going to happen as quickly as we need it to happen. So that's one of the reasons I'm involved. But there are also some other amazing people involved in the work that we're doing, and you'll be meeting some of them this morning. So in terms of the background to this, before I introduce the details about the awards, I just introduced my guests going from left to right, and then I'll come back just in a moment and invite them to make some brief remarks. So it's my great pleasure on my immediate left to be joined this morning by His Excellency Mr. Samori Okia from the Kenyan High Commission here in Kuala Lumpur. I'm delighted, sir, that you've been able to join us this morning. Good to have you with us. And then straight immediately next to His Excellency is Ms. Shireen Wu, the Group Chief Marketing Officer of Media Prima. Good morning, Shireen, good to have you with us. And then at the far end of the table, it's a long way away from Australia, a long way away from me here, is Frida Merklis from the lovely city of Melbourne. Okay, so here we are. The reason we're here this morning is quite simple, because we all know, and if you just think for a minute of those amazing women that you know who were in the world of business, whether it's in Malaysia, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in the UK, the people that we have in the room today, one of the things that's very true about this, they may be doing amazing things, but quite frankly, we're not doing as well as we need to be doing in celebrating that achievement. And in 2013, Her Majesty the Queen signed, for the first time, we have a Commonwealth Charter, and I wasn't in the room when she signed the document, but I believe she made remarks along the lines of, thank goodness we have one piece of paper, no more than 5 pages, that brings all of these key words together. And some of those key words, there is a part of that charter signed by Her Majesty the Queen, adopted by all member governments, including Malaysia, Kenya, and others here today at the World Islamic Economic Forum, many of them Commonwealth member states, and they really importance is attached to by us in terms of the work we do, in particular to one part of that charter. They all, of course, link in together, but it talks about gender. But for us, it makes a crucial link between girls in school and women in work. And yet we know that celebrating the achievement of women in business is important on many levels. It's clearly important for themselves in celebrating the journey that they've taken, the journey that they have yet to take also, celebrating, the country and all of the work that's gone into getting them to that point. But it's also important for girls in school to have role models. And when I say role models, I mean role models not up there, so high in the sky that you can't even see them, let alone reach them, but role models that you can relate to, role models that you can connect to. And that's the reason why we have done these awards, to make it visible and possible for a girl in a school in Mombasa, or in Sarawak, or in Alice Springs, to actually, or in Dar es Salaam, to realize that actually, yes, she can do anything. And just because it may not be obvious doesn't mean that it can't happen. So I think that's the importance of it as well. And we took the opportunity last year during that very exciting spectacle that many of you will remember. We have some very keen sporting nations in the room. And the Commonwealth Games last year, at the last day of the business conference of the Commonwealth Games, Prime Minister David Cameron was there with many of the High Commissioners, who were in London, and were also there attending this in Glasgow. We took the opportunity of launching, for the first time ever in 49 years of the history of the modern Commonwealth, the celebrating the achievement of women in business. And this year, and we had a very positive response to that. We had a good level of response last year when we had the first Commonwealth Women Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. won by Julian Omala from Uganda, who has flown to Sri Lanka, had a great event. And this year, we really felt that we wanted to significantly accelerate and heighten that and broaden the development of these awards program, not just to recognize innovation in the private sector, but recognize innovation in the public sector. And we've been hearing at this conference about the importance of public-private collaboration in a whole range of areas. And I think that's certainly highlighted with these awards. So what I'd like to do is just describe very briefly, and I'll go through, there are two awards. The background to this is the awards will be announced in full at a meeting in London on next Thursday, the 12th of November. But we've taken the opportunity at the World Islamic Economic Forum, because of the participation of several of the winners here, to make this announcement this morning with you. So it's a kind of curtain raiser, not only for what's happening in London with the rest of the award categories, but also for the, if you like, the flagship award, which is the Women Entrepreneur of the Year, Commonwealth Women Entrepreneur of the Year. That award will be announced during the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting later this month in Malta, and the finalists will be announced at the meeting in London. But there are a number of categories, and the two categories which I just want to say something very briefly about this morning. The first of those is an award that we've initiated. When I say we, by the way, it's not just Frida and Arif. We have 8 regional partners across the 5 continents in the Commonwealth. They connect us to around 61,000 women in business. We have a range of other partners that we work with as well. So we've drawn a selection of those into a judging panel. We've made the decision in consultation with them. And the award that we've initiated this year, one of them, is an award to a government for its work on women in procurement. There was a groundbreaking report from the Commonwealth Secretariat about 18 months ago, which highlighted the increasing recognition that inclusive government procurement policy, combined with effective management of scarce resources, can have in making a real difference in the lives of women in the economy. And in the last year that the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting met, there was one man in Kenya who took an interesting initiative, and now I'm referring to President Kenyatta. President Kenyatta in that year directed that the National Treasury should issue regulations that provide that at least 30% of all public procurement should be reserved for enterprises owned by women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Those regulations provide a unique opportunity for women to access the single largest consumer of goods and services in Kenya, or for that matter, any country which is government, and in this case, it's the Kenyan Government. Now that translates, and at an economic forum such as this, it's important to highlight this. This translates to giving this category of people access to $2.1 billion worth of business every year. Let me say that again, $2.1 billion worth of business every year. The use of supply diversity on this scale, we feel, by a government to economically empower women, youth, and persons with disabilities is simply unprecedented. Kenya's development and advocacy of public procurement as a lever for women's economic empowerment has been pivotal on many levels. By March of this year, over 8,000 women had benefited from public procurement preferences and reservation and the reservation program in varying sectors, including general, professional, small works, and agriculture. And this award recognizes an impact across the whole of government, providing opportunities for women, not just in Nairobi or Mombasa, but actually across the entire country of Kenya and in different sectors, which has now led to collaboration with the Commonwealth Businesswomen's Network to establish the Commonwealth's and indeed the world's first Centre of Excellence for Women in Procurement in Nairobi to help link women entrepreneurs to international procurement tenders. This award is extremely important, coming just before the Heads of Government meeting, also coming at a time when there is an increasing debate about effective management of public resources. And we feel very strongly that we need to join the dots here between the discussions about managing resources more effectively to having stronger supply diversity. And Kenya, for us, has brought this together in a very powerful way. And it's with that in mind that it takes me great pleasure this morning, ladies and gentlemen, to announce that the government of Kenya has won the Commonwealth's first award for the government work in this area. I also want to pay tribute, if I may, to the work of the Kenyan government minister that's been taking a pivotal role in leading this, the Honorable Anne Waguru. She and I met at the UN earlier this year, and this is a woman who means business. She in the sense that she delivers, she drives forward an agenda, and she, like a number of women I've met over the last few years, is quite simply an inspiration. And I can see why that program is having an impact in Kenya, because with someone like her driving it, and with your president also playing a key role, that's a very strong combination. And that's what I think we need to have, is leadership. We need leadership not just in Kenya, we need leadership in Africa, but actually we need leadership in the Commonwealth. And that's why, Excellency, we're delighted to have this award, and I'd like you to invite you to make some brief remarks in response.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arif. Good morning. It takes great pleasure this morning to be with you this day to actually, on behalf of the government of Kenya, to receive an award that has actually come a long way. We are all aware that gender inequality around the world plays a major role in, hindering progression in countries' economies. But Kenya has taken the initiative in the last couple of years, and in 2013, actually, as a matter of fact, an initiative, Women Enterprise Fund, was actually initiated, which has so far disbursed $66 million. This fund is basically supposed to support women to be able to engage in enterprise activities, and like Mr. Arif has mentioned earlier on, 30% of public procurement has been assigned to benefit women, children, youth, and the people of disabilities. So we take a lot of seriousness in promoting the affairs of women in terms of participating in the whole national economic development and allowing them to be sustainable in different enterprise and activities. The government of Kenya actually takes a lot of interest in supporting initiatives, projects, business ideas that are always helpful in promoting the interest of women. So this morning, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the government of Kenya to thank you very much, the Commonwealth Businesswomen, for awarding Kenya this first award ever, 2015. I think we go in history as a government in getting an award with regards to women in procurement. And we are very, very honored and very, very privileged this morning. My colleagues are here from Kenya. We have a delegation from Kenya. I'm sure they're also celebrating together with us. And of course, not to forget to mention the efforts of Honorable Anne Waguru for her persistence in just making sure that most of these initiatives actually not just get initiated, but get implemented. So we also would like to take this opportunity to also recognize her efforts in the whole affair and in allowing us to be able to be recognized by the Commonwealth Business Women in receiving this award this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. And I just want to highlight the relevance of that, reinforce it to this whole conference. There have been sessions here talking about women's economic empowerment. And it's interesting that in the discussions coming up from the floor, some of the speakers have been challenged to give real meaning to some of those words by, for example, looking at procurement. Well, we have an example here of a government that has actually been doing work in exactly that area. So very relevant to this conference as well. So thank you, Excellency, for your kind remarks, and we look forward to Kenya's continued work in this area, and we indeed look forward to your championing of this with your other 52 heads of government when they meet together in 20 or so days in the sunny island of Malta. Next, I would like to turn, and secondly and finally, to an area we have members of the media in the room. So members of the media, this is a direct message to all of you. This is an award about all of you and about all of us, because it really is an award looking at media And I was privileged to meet the president of Malta, the female president, if I may say, of Malta, just a few days ago. And I was with a delegation of businesswomen, and not for the first time, I was the only guy in the room. The president of Malta made some rather strong remarks about the role of media and about how she felt there was still unfinished business, if I can put it that way, paraphrasing her a bit, in terms of the work that we need to do in this area. So we know that media visibility helps to build and retain a critical mass of women in leadership. And while media coverage of women in business is improving, too often this reflects overt or unconscious bias with criteria for success and areas of reporting unduly focused on periphery rather than core factors. How women look, not in terms of how the actual business is necessarily performing. At the same time, a number of media organizations and agencies in print, broadcast, and online media, increasingly indeed online media, in the developing and the developed world, are breaking ground and challenging the perpetuation of embedded patriarchy in coverage, content, and audience engagement, at times helped and indeed accelerated by technological, industry, and demographic shifts. And we've been hearing about some of those shifts in the last 48 hours here in Kuala Lumpur, WIEF. The Commonwealth Media of the Year Award seeks to celebrate such organizations, irrespective of their size or location. And it gives me tremendous pleasure this morning to say that the Commonwealth Businesswomen's Network, an accredited organization focused on women's economic empowerment, recognized by 53 member governments, including the governments of Malaysia and Kenya, and others here in this room, is delighted to announce that the first Commonwealth Media of the Year winner is Media Prima Berhad. I'll just say one or two words before I invite Shireen to respond. The award is shared jointly with the BAM Media of Lesotho in Africa, and the winners encapsulate both Media Premier and BAM Media. The winners encapsulate the spirit of egalitarianism, gender equality, and novelty in highlighting women's empowerment causes or success stories where women serve as inspiration to others. Media Premier, as many of you will know, is Malaysia's leading fully integrated media investment group, top 100 largest listed companies by revenue in the country, with diversified businesses across many platforms. It's home to 4 of Malaysia's most popular channels, and gender equality in terms of staff development has also been critical, as well as in terms of, as well as in audience development. And it's, I think, significant that for the past 3 years, the Kajai Award, which celebrates the achievement of journalists, has been won by female journalists from Media Premier. So we're delighted to make this award, and we look forward to building on this moving forward and working indeed with both Media Prima and BAM Media Group over the next couple of years during the time as Malta's chair in office. I would just like to invite at this moment Ms. Shireen Oy from the Media Prima Group to make some remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Arif. We are very honored to receive this award. In fact, it's a splendid surprise. I received a call yesterday night to be here this morning. And this award will certainly inspire us to do more, to highlight more on women issues and their achievement. Media Prima will always put great emphasis on gender equality, as well as provide everyone an equal chance to succeed. We do a lot of highlights on Malaysian entrepreneur too, through all our various media platforms. And we'd like to thank you again to Commonwealth Businesswomen Network today for acknowledging Media Prima. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shireen, for that. And I think it's just a great example, I think, that in this very challenging time that we're living right today, there are innovators like the Kenyan Government and innovators like Media Premier, both in their own space, if I may say, Kenya, with both challenges and opportunities, and yet driving forward in this very innovative way with the work that it's doing. I think Media Prima, operating in an industry which is certainly competitive, fiercely so at times, and yet has not in any sense lost sight. In fact, has kept very sharp focus on the importance of women in media, not just as consumers, but as employees, and in a number of other areas. So thanks to both of those award winners. I just want to close this morning's session, which we've tried to keep relatively brief, by inviting my co-chair, Frida Merklis, to make some brief remarks. Frida.
Terima kasih and salam alaikum. It's a great pleasure to be here in Malaysia and to be leading what is the very first Commonwealth Businesswomen's Network delegation. We are a delegation of some 30 women representing 8 countries, and this is the first country. We have another 52 countries to go, so we're down and running. The next stop, of course, will be Malta in a few weeks' time, where we will be inaugurating the Women's Forum. This is really groundbreaking in terms of the changes that we are now seeing within the Commonwealth, and I think this morning highlights some of the changes that we are starting to see and that we want to recognise. Ambassador, I think it's suffice to say that what gets measured gets done. If you want a job done, give it to a woman. Yep. And certainly we commend both the efforts of Anna Guru and her team for putting in place the transformative procurement policies that have now taken shape in Kenya. But more importantly, let me just highlight that it's the highly dependent sector that is now in Kenya that is being turned into a highly productive part of their economy. And the Kenyan government is investing $54 million in this sector of the economy. So this is a people-centred approach to development, and it is inclusive economic development at its core. So with that, can I thank again Anna Guru for leading this charge on behalf of the Kenyan government, but also with the leadership of women like Shireen that we now have leading some of our key media outlets like Media Prima, and the work that she's doing with the team there. It is certainly impressive, but with women like Shireen at the helm of media organisations, we can be assured of equitable and fair media coverage and reporting. So thank you very much, and I congratulate you all on behalf of the Commonwealth Businesswomen's Network. Good morning. Terima kasih.
I'll just, if I may make a closing remark, simply to make mention of the fact that we have had very, very positive discussions here with stakeholders during the World Islamic Economic Forum about strengthening stronger links between the Commonwealth and the World Islamic Economic Forum. We had discussions with Tun Musa Hitam as well as other stakeholders, SME Corp and others. And I think this is where the value in diversity really comes in. And remember, in fact, never forget what Madiba said, Nelson Mandela said about the Commonwealth. And he simply said this: the Commonwealth makes the world safe for diversity. The Commonwealth makes the world safe for diversity. And in the times that we live in today, where we know we have challenges in all different directions, at all different levels, if we can find a place that makes the world safe for diversity, let's make it safe together. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this morning, and heartiest congratulations to the Government of Kenya and to Media Prima for their success and inspiring others to follow them in the years ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you.